Let me ask you a question that might make you a little uncomfortable. You pull up to your absolute favorite fishing spot on a Saturday morning, and you see another boat pulling up their trolling motor to leave. Do you stay and fish it, or do you instantly turn your boat around to go find fresh water? If you are like 99% of fishermen out there, you leave. You think the spot is totally burned. But what if I told you that turning away is the biggest mistake you can make? What if the absolute best time to fish a spot is exactly 30 minutes after another boat has completely torn through it? Today we are going to break down a wild fishing paradox. I am going to show you why fishing behind someone else is actually a massive advantage. We are going to uncover the hidden feeding window that impatient anglers leave behind for you to exploit. By the end of this video, you will never look at boat traffic the same way again. Tell me in the comments right now, do you refuse to fish behind other boats? Before we get into the crazy details of this 30-minute rule, we need to understand why we all act the way we do on the water. For generations, fishermen have been absolutely obsessed with the idea of first water. Your grandfather probably taught you that you have to be the very first person to cast a lure into a laydown or a weed bed. The old school belief is that fish are incredibly fragile creatures that get terrified by the slightest shadow of a boat. We have been brainwashed to believe that once a piece of water is touched, it is completely ruined for the rest of the day. This belief runs so deep that guys will burn 20 gallons of gas just driving around a lake, desperately looking for a quiet cove that nobody has touched. They waste hours of prime fishing time just running away from other people. But lakes today are not what they were 40 years ago. Every lake is crowded. Every spot gets heavily pressured. The fish have adapted to all this noise, but for some reason, we fishermen have completely refused to adapt our strategies to match them. Let us set the scene and paint a very clear picture of what usually happens. You are sitting in your boat on a beautiful morning, and you watch another guy absolutely tear through a shallow weed flat. You can hear his trolling motor churning up the water. You can hear him dropping his pliers on the aluminum deck. You can hear the heavy splash of his big crankbait hitting the water over and over again. After about 10 minutes of catching absolutely nothing, he gets frustrated. He fires up his big 250 horsepower outboard motor, blows a massive cloud of blue smoke into the air, and speeds away. The water is sloshing around, the wake is crashing against the shoreline, and the spot looks like a total disaster zone. Your gut reaction is to write off that entire area. You think every fish in a 1-mile radius is hiding in terror. But you need to stop and think about what is actually happening beneath the surface right in that moment. The fish are not gone. They are just temporarily holding their breath. To really understand this strategy, you have to get inside the mind of the angler who just left that spot. Why did he leave so quickly? The truth is, most fishermen today are incredibly impatient. They suffer from the modern disease of power fishing. They want to cover as much water as humanly possible in the shortest amount of time. That guy probably made 15 rapid-fire casts with a loud, aggressive lure. He was looking for the absolute dumbest, most active fish in the lake. When he did not get a bite immediately, his brain told him the spot was empty. He did not slow down. He did not change his bait. He did not analyze the structure. He just threw a noisy piece of plastic around, decided the fish were not home, and ran away. He fished way too fast. He left all the smart, mature fish right there in the weeds. He basically knocked on their front door, shouted at them, and then ran away before they even had a chance to answer. You have to realize that his failure is your ultimate opportunity. Now we enter the critical period. The first 10 minutes after that loud boat leaves is what I call the dead zone. During this short window, the spot is indeed pretty tough to fish. The big predators like bass or walleye have tucked themselves tightly into the heavy cover. They are wedged under a submerged log, or they are buried deep inside a thick patch of milfoil. They are stressed out by the noise and the vibration of the trolling motor prop. The water is physically churning. The silt from the bottom has been kicked up into a cloudy mess. If you try to cast a lure in there right at this exact moment, you will likely get completely ignored. The fish are on high alert, and their survival instinct tells them to keep their mouths completely shut. But here is the secret. You are not going to cast right now. You are going to sit back, maybe pour yourself a cup of hot coffee from your thermos, and just watch the water. You are going to let the spot breathe. You are waiting for the magic to begin. Right around the 15-minute mark, something incredible starts to happen under the water. All that silt and mud that the previous boat's trolling motor kicked up starts to slowly settle, but it leaves a trail of disturbed organic matter. Think about what lives in the mud and the weeds. Tiny crawfish, aquatic insects, and small minnows. When the boat tore through there, it ripped up their hiding spots. Now these tiny prey creatures are exposed and confused. They start darting around the cloudy water, trying to find new cover. The small panfish, like bluegills and perch, immediately notice this. They realize that an absolute buffet has just been served, and they start moving out into the open to feed on the displaced insects. The underwater ecosystem is suddenly incredibly active. The previous fisherman did not ruin the spot. He actually acted like a giant plow, churning up the bottom and ringing the dinner bell for the entire lower half of the food chain. The water is coming alive right in front of you. This brings us to the moment we need to bust one of the biggest myths in the history of fishing. The grandpas and the old-timers always swore that you can never catch a fish from a spot that was just disturbed. They said the water needs hours or even days to recover. That is completely false in today's world. Fish living in heavily pressured lakes hear boat motors literally every single day of their lives. A trolling motor hum is as natural to them as the sound of the wind. They do not associate a passing boat with the end of the world. They view it as a temporary annoyance. Once the annoyance is gone, their natural predatory instincts take over immediately. They are biologically programmed to take advantage of easy meals. When they see the bluegills and the minnows frantically feeding on the stirred-up bugs, the big predators cannot resist joining the party. The myth of the ruined spot is just an excuse used by impatient fishermen who do not know how to adapt to changing water conditions. So why is 30 minutes the magic number? Why not 10 minutes? And why not 2 hours? 30 minutes is the absolute perfect biological reset button for a fishing spot. It gives the water enough time to stop physically churning, allowing the silt to settle just enough so the fish can see clearly again. It gives the big predators exactly enough time to realize that the loud, scary boat is definitely gone and is not coming back. But most importantly, 30 minutes is exactly when the frenzy of the smaller baitfish hits its absolute peak. The bugs are still exposed, the small fish are distracted by eating them, and the giant predators are sliding out of their hiding spots to ambush the distracted small fish. It is an artificial, perfectly timed feeding window that was accidentally created by the guy who just left. You are stepping into a situation where the biggest fish in the area are actively looking for an easy, slow-moving meal. 30 minutes is the golden ticket. Let us picture a real-life scenario on the water to show you exactly how this plays out. Imagine it is a cool morning on a busy local lake. The tournament guys are out in full force. You are slowly putting along, and you see a shiny $70,000 bass boat speed away from a beautiful rocky point. Instead of driving past it, you cut your big motor 100 yards away. You do not even turn on your electric trolling motor. You just let the gentle morning breeze slowly drift your boat perfectly into casting position. You sit there in total silence. You watch the ripples from his wake slowly fade into the shoreline. You watch a turtle pop its head up. You listen to the red-winged blackbirds and the cattails. You are literally letting the timer run down. You are practicing incredible patience while everyone else on the lake is rushing around like maniacs. You know exactly what is happening beneath those rocks, and you know that your absolute best chance is just a few minutes away. Let us talk about the specific mistakes the impatient guy made before you arrived. He was almost certainly throwing something large, heavy, and loud. Maybe it was a massive spinnerbait with big willow blades, or a rattling crankbait that sounded like a pair of maracas underwater. He was retrieving it as fast as he could turn the reel handle. He was trying to force the fish to react out of pure aggression. But mature, heavy fish do not usually waste their precious energy chasing down a fast, noisy piece of plastic, especially when they are tucked into cover. They just watch it swim by. The previous guy basically woke them up, got their attention, and annoyed them, but he did not give them a realistic reason to bite. He did all the heavy lifting of waking up the neighborhood, but he completely failed to seal the deal. Now they are awake, they are out of the weeds, and they are hungry. He set the table, and now you are about to sit down and eat his lunch. We really need to discuss the concept of the mud line. Whenever a boat operates in shallow water, especially in less than 5 feet, the thrust from the electric motor creates a faint, cloudy line of mud and silt that hangs in the water column. A lot of anglers hate seeing cloudy water, but big predatory fish absolutely love it. A mud line creates an instant, temporary camouflage wall. A big largemouth bass or a giant walleye will actually swim right to the edge of that freshly created mud line and use it as an ambush point. They sit just inside the murky water, completely invisible to the baitfish swimming in the clear water right next to it. They use the dirty water exactly like a hunter uses a duck blind. The boat that just left created a perfect, brand new structure out of thin air. While everyone else sees dirty, ruined water, you need to see a newly constructed predator highway. You are targeting the seam where the dirty water meets the clean water. The timer on your watch finally hits 30 minutes. The water is completely flat again. The sun is shining. The lake is quiet. Now is your moment to strike. But you absolutely cannot use the same tactics the previous guy used. You need to show them something incredibly subtle and completely natural. You pick up a spinning rod tied with light fluorocarbon line. You have a small, weightless, soft plastic worm, or maybe a tiny, natural-colored hair jig tied to the end. You make a long, smooth cast past the edge of the weed bed. You let the bait fall perfectly naturally, straight down to the bottom, without imparting any crazy action to it. You do not reel it in quickly. You let it sit there. You give it a tiny twitch. You are perfectly imitating a dying minnow or an injured bug that was mangled by the previous boat's motor. You are offering them an incredibly easy, vulnerable meal that requires absolutely zero energy for them to eat. This is precision fishing at its absolute finest. Lure selection in this specific 30-minute scenario is absolutely critical to your success. If you throw a loud crankbait into that spot, you will instantly reset the fear clock, and the fish will dive right back into the deep cover. You have to be the complete opposite of the guy who was there before you. If he was throwing bright chartreuse, you need to throw dark green or brown. If he was burning baits across the surface, you need to drag your baits slowly along the bottom. The fish have just been conditioned to associate loud, fast things with danger and annoyance. You need to offer them a bait that falls so naturally that it barely makes a ripple when it enters the water. Finesse techniques like the Ned rig, a wacky rigged worm, or a slowly dragged football jig are your absolute best friends right now. You want a bait that looks like it belongs in the mud and the weeds. You are trying to fool an old, smart fish that just watched a piece of noisy plastic fly past its face. The absolute necessity of your own stealth cannot be overstated here. You are trying to capitalize on someone else's noise, which means you must be quieter than a shadow. If you slam your rod lockers shut, drop a heavy tackle box on the deck, or constantly stomp on your trolling motor pedal, you are completely ruining the delicate trap you just set. You might even need to turn off your modern, forward-facing sonar. Sometimes in heavily pressured water, fish can literally feel the pinging of the electronics. You are going old school. You are reading the water with your eyes. You want to make your cast from a far distance. Keep your boat away from the prime strike zone. Stand still, keep your voice down, and blend into the environment. You are a sniper waiting for the perfect shot. The spot has finally healed itself after 30 minutes, and any unnatural noise from your boat will instantly shatter that temporary window of opportunity. Silence is your greatest weapon. Let us look at another very common real-world situation. Picture a bright, sunny afternoon right in the middle of the day. The water is totally flat, crystal clear, and the lake is packed with recreational boaters. You are targeting a row of deep-water docks. You watch another fishing boat rip down the line of docks. They are pitching jigs into the shade, ripping them out, and moving to the next dock in 30 seconds. They catch nothing and leave. The sun is beating down hard. Normally, you would never fish a spot after it was just heavily pounded in the bright sun. But remember the rule: wait 30 minutes. During that time, the giant bass that were hiding deep underneath the dark center of the docks will slowly slide back out to the edges. They saw the flash of the previous jigs, and they felt the water move. Now that the danger is gone, they are curious. They will position themselves right on the shadowy edge of the dock, waiting for a bluegill to make a mistake. You really have to understand the specific behavior of the alpha fish in any given area. The biggest bass, the heaviest walleye, or the meanest pike did not get big by being stupid. An alpha fish is lazy and calculating. When a boat crashes into their spot, the alpha fish does not panic like a small juvenile fish does. It simply sinks straight down to the bottom and waits for the chaos to end. But here is the amazing part. Because it is the biggest fish in the area, it is the absolute undisputed boss of that spot. Once the boat leaves, that alpha fish gets first pick of the prime ambush positions. It pushes the smaller fish out of the way and reclaims the absolute best feeding angle on the structure. By waiting 30 minutes, you are specifically allowing the largest, smartest fish in the area to perfectly position itself for your lure. You are not catching the small, aggressive fish. You are specifically targeting the king of the castle. We need to have a serious talk about human pride and the angler ego. This is the main reason why more people do not use this strategy. It really hurts a fisherman's pride to fish water that someone else just vacated. It feels like you are eating somebody else's leftovers. It feels like you are admitting that you cannot find your own secret spot. A lot of guys absolutely refuse to do it because they think it makes them look like desperate amateurs. But let me tell you a secret about professional fishing. Pride does not fill the live well. Ego does not catch 5-pounders. Understanding fish biology and taking advantage of human error is what makes you a master angler. You have to swallow your pride and realize that the lake does not care about your ego. The fish definitely do not care who casts the lure. They only care about when the lure arrives and how natural it looks. You need to let go of the obsession with finding untouched water. Think about the stark contrast between the two styles of fishing happening here. The guy who just sped away from the spot is a textbook power fisherman. He is acting like a loud, underwater vacuum cleaner, trying to quickly suck up the easy targets before moving on to the next patch of water. He relies purely on speed and reaction strikes. You, on the other hand, are stepping into the role of a precision surgeon. You are picking apart the spot with incredible care. You are targeting the heavy, smart, old fish that he left behind because they refuse to chase his fast lure. You are capitalizing on the exact environment that he stirred up. He did the messy work of disturbing the water, and you are doing the clean work of extracting the biggest fish. Once you embrace this mindset, you will stop getting angry when you see other boats on your favorite spots. You will actually start smiling because you know they are just doing the prep work for you. While you are sitting there waiting for your 30 minutes to pass, you need to be constantly reading the subtle signs on the surface of the water. Just because you are not casting does not mean you are not fishing. Watch the area incredibly closely. You might see a single nervous shad skip frantically across the surface. You might notice a tiny, almost invisible swirl near a submerged tree branch. You might see a couple of bubbles rise up from a weed patch. These are the crucial biological indicators that the spot has successfully reset. These tiny signs tell you that the predators are officially back on the prowl and actively hunting the stirred-up baitfish. If you learn to read these subtle water signs, you will know exactly when the feeding window opens. You are using your eyes as your primary electronics. When you finally see that single minnow skip for its life, you know it is time to quietly pick up your rod and make your cast. Timing is absolutely everything with this strategy. What happens if you get distracted and wait an hour or 2 hours instead of 30 minutes? The entire dynamic changes again. If you wait too long, the stirred-up sediment settles completely down to the bottom. The exposed insects dig themselves back into the mud. The small panfish realize the buffet is over and go back to their normal hiding spots. The giant predators realize the easy meal is gone, and they slide back deep into their totally dormant state. The artificial feeding window completely closes. The water becomes stale again. This is exactly why the 30-minute mark is so critical. You have to hit that sweet spot after the fear has faded, but while the food chain is still highly active. It is a very specific, temporary window of opportunity. If you cast too early, they are terrified. If you cast too late, they are asleep. 30 minutes is the golden zone of maximum vulnerability. Let me tell you a quick story about a fishing buddy of mine. We always call him Stubborn Steve. Steve absolutely refuses to ever fish behind another boat. If he sees someone within a half-mile of his chosen spot, he turns his boat around. He spends over half of his fishing day just driving his boat around the lake, burning expensive gas, desperately looking for a completely empty cove. At the end of the day, his live well is usually empty, and he complains that the lake is totally fished out. Meanwhile, I will happily sit patiently 100 yards behind a loud tournament guy. I will wait my 30 minutes, slowly drift into the disturbed water, cast a subtle, weightless plastic worm, and catch the guy's leftovers all day long. Steve spends his whole day stressed out and running from the crowds. I spend my day relaxing, watching the water, and pulling heavy fish out of spots that everyone else thought were ruined. Do not be like Stubborn Steve. To successfully pull this off, it requires a complete mental shift in how you view a busy lake. You have to stop viewing other boats and heavy fishing pressure as a negative thing that ruins your day. Instead, you need to start looking at those loud, fast boats as incredibly useful tools. They are giant, noisy plows that stir up the bottom water, wake up the sleeping fish, and set the perfect table for your 30-minute delayed attack. The next time you are out on the water and a guy cuts you off on your favorite spot, do not get mad, do not yell, and definitely do not drive away. Just smile, check your watch, pour a cup of coffee, and wait 30 minutes. You will be absolutely amazed at the giants you can pull out of a spot that someone else just abandoned. This strategy takes massive patience, incredible stealth, and a total lack of ego, but it is one of the most devastatingly effective ways to catch big fish on highly pressured waters. So let us quickly bring it all together. The old school myth says you need untouched water to catch fish. The modern reality says that a loud boat leaving a spot actually kicks up silt, exposes baitfish, and creates an incredible artificial feeding window. The biggest, smartest fish in the lake do not run away forever. They wait out the noise, and then they come out to feast on the easy meals left behind. By waiting exactly 30 minutes, you give the fish enough time to stop being scared, but not enough time to finish eating. You switch to a quiet, natural-looking finesse bait, you sneak in like a ghost, and you catch the giant fish the impatient guy left behind. This is the ultimate turning point for anyone struggling on busy lakes. It changes your entire approach. You stop running from the crowds and start using them to your advantage. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out today. If this completely changed how you look at boat traffic, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and join the community. Now I want to hear from you down in the comments. Are you going to try the 30-minute rule this weekend? Or do you still think a spot is ruined once a boat touches it? Let us argue about it down below, and I will see you on the water.